The other team in the AL East making moves right now on the Just Baseball show is the Baltimore Orioles. They acquired Taylor Ward. We talked about that last week. I want to say early last week. Taylor Ward, who's coming off a near 40 homer season with the Angels, is acquired for Grayson Rodriguez, the young, talented, but very injury prone starting pitcher. After they acquire a power bat in the corner outfield in Ward, they go ahead and sign Ryan Helsley to a 2-year deal. Have you seen concrete reported money yet for Ryan Helsley? I don't think I have seen reported money for Helsley, but we do know that it's a 2-year deal with Baltimore.
Yeah, I have just seen 14 million per year, totaling $28 million. And it's interesting because the Orioles have been probably the busiest team of any so far in this offseason, because you already mentioned that they went and got Taylor Ward, but they also brought in Andrew Kittredge to this bullpen, and a smaller move like bringing in Leody Taveras to their outfield. And you got to give some credit here to Mike Elias, because he came out and said, I want a closer, I want a right-handed power bat, and I want to go get some starters. They got their closer in Ryan Helsley, and they also got another arm in Andrew Kittredge, who has been there before. But the thing is with the Orioles is they have to continue to add to this bullpen, because what happens when you trade bullpen arms away at deadlines? You don't have any left.
Yeah.
So right now, when you look at their projected bullpen, it's Helsley, it's Kittredge, and then what? Right? So we got to continue to add here, and this is what Mike Elias does best, is he's able to create these bullpens almost out of thin air without spending really anything. So I have full faith that they can do that. In terms of starting pitching, I don't know exactly where they're going to go, but right now, what we can solidify with the bullpen, and we could talk about starting pitching on the next segment, but for right now, you get Ryan Helsley, who did struggle with the Mets, but I think his struggles have been a little bit overblown. With the Cardinals, he had a 3 ERA and the strikeout rate was right there.
Yeah.
With the Mets, it all went kaplooey. And when you're a reliever and you pitch to a 7 ERA over 20 innings, that could mess up your entire season. And I'm sure he would have preferred to be a free agent back in 2024 when he was a little bit better, but still securing a contract like that, I think it's a good deal for both sides.
It seems like a good deal for both sides. And yeah, Spotrac officially populated with $14 million per for Ryan Helsley. So 2 for 28 for Helsley. There's a lot to like about Ryan Helsley, the guy. And we do want to talk in the next segment about what is next for the Baltimore Orioles. But it's cool. We've had the opportunity to talk to Helsley on this show. You have plenty of mutual friends with him. He played college summer ball out in Santa Barbara. So that's when you got to chat with Helsley for the first time. This guy fits the team whose vibe is like as unique as I think really any in baseball. When you think about the Baltimore Orioles, obviously you think about Connor Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jackson Holliday, Jordan Westberg, the plethora of young bats that they have. You also think about how they're all really good friends. Like for some reason, it feels like the Oriole clubhouse dynamic among their core players, Colton Cowser included, is unique. Like they all live together during spring training. They love building Legos together. Like it's a lot of weird quirks like that. It seems like they're just adding a really good dude in Helsley into this clubhouse too. They may just be on the hunt for good dudes.
Yeah, Helsley's the man. We, growing up, he was staying at the home while he was playing summer ball with my best friend Dustin, and played a lot of poker together. Always was super, super nice. And then we had him on the pod, super, super nice again. So the Orioles are getting another guy who's just going to fit right into the culture that they have. It's a no-brainer.
And oh, by the way, it's a career ERA under 3. I don't like playing the if you take this out game, but if you take out 2025, this guy's career ERA sits at 2.6, and that's with 12 appearances at a 5.5 in the COVID year in 2020 in there as well. He has Cy Young votes in 2 separate years. A closer for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's one of the more underappreciated closers in baseball. Now, he was treated like damaged goods because in his 22 appearances with the Mets, it was really bad, right? ERA north of 7 in 20 innings, allowed 25 hits. It was 16 earned runs, 20 runs in total. He punched out only 22 in 20 innings of work. But this guy, don't forget, was good with St. Louis before the deadline came. There's a reason the Mets had to pay a premium to go get Ryan Helsley. 36 appearances at a 3 ERA exactly, and he was punching out 10.5 guys per 9 innings. There wasn't anything in particular that jumped out about Helsley getting worse. The walk rate escalated a bit, but the velocity held, the shapes held. It was really location. So it was either, okay, you're out of the zone entirely and you're walking guys, or you're right down Broadway. That was the problem in his Mets tenure across those 2 months. His fastballs were right over the heart of the plate. His slider was over the heart of the plate. When he's at his best, it's typically fastball at the top, and from a pretty over the top release, it's a slider at the bottom of the zone. And that just wasn't happening for Ryan Helsley. So here's to hoping he can get back to it. Baltimore has been dealt a pretty bad hand with Felix Bautista. It looked like they had a top 5 reliever in Major League Baseball as their closer for the foreseeable future. And then it was an elbow issue. And then it was another issue. So Bautista is sidelined. They get their answer in Ryan Helsley. We just talked about Dylan Cease, 7 years for $210 million to the Toronto Blue Jays. And we're talking about Ryan Helsley signing a 2-year, $28 million deal with the Baltimore Orioles. We've talked about Helsley, the player, his fit, what was going poorly in Queens, what can get better in Baltimore. Now I want to talk about what Baltimore can do next. And Peter, you made the point. Mike Elias told the media exactly what he was going to do. And apparently he wasn't bluffing. He's doing exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to acquire a corner outfield bat. Yeah. Taylor Ward via trade. He wanted to get a closer. Yeah. 2 years for Helsley. And he wants a frontline starting pitcher. So assuming he's not bluffing on that, who's the best fit here?
Joe Ryan. I want to bring in Joe Ryan because I look currently at the Blue Jays roster and I see Kyle Bradish at the top, who is as talented of a pitcher as we have in Major League Baseball. That's how good he is when he's on. Google Kyle Bradish stats if you don't know much about him, and you will be floored because this guy prevents runs with the best of them. He's got fantastic stuff, and he improves year over year. What's his issue? Staying on the field. Trevor Rogers comes over in that trade, which looked like a bust of a trade as Kyle Stowers took the baseball world by storm, was an all-star, and you're wondering, we got Trevor Rogers, he's not pitching. And then he comes back and he puts up an ERA below 2. And we were even joking around in our Discord, should Rogers get Cy Young votes with how good he was? If Nathan Eovaldi is up there, why not Rogers? Even though, it was only, I think it was even less than 100 innings. I'd have to relook it back up. But I know during the year, every single time Trevor Rogers stepped on the mound and afterwards, and we were reviewing it, I'm like, everyone pay attention right now. This is the best pitcher currently in Major League Baseball. He was pitching that well. But what's his big issue? Staying on the field. I can't have Dean Kramer leading in innings every single time out. You keep going. Tyler Wells, another guy who's got all the talent in the world, but hasn't stayed on the field. Ended off. Cade Povich. Talent. He's a rookie. He's still got a lot to prove. So I want to bring in a bona fide stud. And that is Joe Ryan of the Minnesota Twins. The thing is with Joe Ryan is every team would want Joe Ryan. Of course. But can you trade for them? The Orioles have the assets to do it, and he's not that expensive. It's the perfect fit.
So I like the idea of Joe Ryan and one more because you look at what's going on in that rotation. If they added 40% of the rotation instead of just 20% of the rotation, I'm all about that. And does that look like Tatsuya Imai? Does that look like Framber Valdez? I don't know. It could look like Ranger Suarez. I don't know. I see a lot of comments here saying Gallen. I think Gallen makes all the sense in the world. If you told me that you can go into 2026 adding Joe Ryan via trade and Zach Gallen via free agency, I'm all aboard the bird train or the bird bath. Can you be aboard a bird bath? I'm all over it, and I'm all aboard whatever it is to climb aboard. If they run out in a postseason series, a front three of Bradish, Ryan, and Gallen with Taylor Ward in that lineup and Helsley throwing the 9th inning, I'm all about what they have going on there.
There's a comment right here from Uncle Ted And he says Merrill Kelly. And I think that's another great option because the pitcher that I want to bring in for the Orioles is a guy I feel really good about supplying consistent innings. We don't need top end stuff. We have that if we trade for Joe Ryan. We have that in Kyle Bradish. We have that in Trevor Rogers. And I swear, even at his peak, Tyler Wells can look like that. Not as consistent. I wouldn't say it's top end stuff, but he can pitch like a guy at the top of the rotation in spurts. So we already have top end talent. I want someone, even if he gives up a few runs, to come in and give us 6 innings, 3-run ball. Give me a quality start. Eat innings. I want my bullpen to have a break here because
Yep.
there is no guarantee that all those guys that I named are going to stay healthy. History would tell us it's much more likely multiple of them get hurt. So
Yep.
I think Gallen is the perfect guy to bring in. He's not going to be very expensive. He has success against the American League East. You bring him in on a 2-3-year deal, nothing crazy. You trade for Joe Ryan. You're not spending that money, but your team is a lot better. And even if Gallen is too expensive, because we're not talking about the Blue Jays or the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Mets or these teams with big payrolls. The Orioles want to save money. That's just, it is what it is. Their owners came out and said they wanted to spend more, but will they? Merrill Kelly is that perfect medium. Eat innings for cheap.
Yeah. Another option there. I see Chris Bassett just showed up in the YouTube comments as well. Like a Bassett makes a lot of sense there. I do also want to shout out how they can fill out the bullpen. And we'll save this obviously for a longer conversation on the Playing GM episodes, which are available wherever you get your podcasts. We get into that, I think, in earnest next week. Our content plan this week is obviously you're listening to this episode right now or watching on Sports Grid. Thank you very much for doing that. You've got an absolute banger that we are not going to divulge what we're doing right now for episode 1000, wherever you get your podcasts. And then we also have an international free agency preview where we're talking about guys like Imai and Murakami and Okamoto and Ponce, Cody Ponce as well. You've got options there. But I do want to talk about how they can fill out that bullpen because, to your point, it's pretty light, right? After Helsley and Kittredge, who else you got? Because you traded everybody. There are plenty of bargain options. You want to give Luke Weaver $5 million? Sure. You want to give Emilio Pagan $9 million? Sure. There are ways that you can spend there to build out a really darn good bullpen. Even if you don't want to do that, how much is Steven Matz going to cost? How much is Luis Garcia going to cost? How about Tyler Kinley? How about Pierce Johnson? There are plenty of okay reliever names there that I'm totally fine seeing them throw the 7th inning. I just don't want them throwing the 9th, but that's why you just signed Helsley and got him off the board quickly.
Exactly. There's a million names that they could go put into their bullpen, and another names, a few names that we're going to talk about in the international free agency preview. There are guys coming over from the MPB and the KBO who have put up incredible reliever seasons over there, and maybe they'd be even cheaper, right? We just saw Elias bring over Tomoyuki Shigano last year. Kind of panned out.
But, I mean, he tried the Fujinami thing too.
Exactly.
Like, he's tried that before.
They've been active in that market. So right now we're reading over MLB reliever free agents that are available, but Elias could totally dip into the international market. So there are so many options that they can go to. And again, that's where I trust Elias. What I get mad at Elias is just the lack of spending, and maybe that's ownership, who knows? But in this type of market where he is tasked to rebuild a bullpen, I have faith in him.
Yeah, I've got a lot of faith in him too. Baltimore has become incredibly intriguing. We got about 2 minutes left in this segment. I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you to give me the AL East power rankings right now, but who are the teams that you're most encouraged by right now? Because there's plenty to be excited about in Boston, right? You got a full year of Roman Anthony in that lineup. Plenty to be excited about in Toronto, obviously bringing in Cease. Who's your must-watch team in the AL East right now?
I think the AL East is just must watch. And, we got another YouTube comment. The AL East is a bloodbath. I couldn't agree with you more, Sean, because you're looking at these teams, and with the addition of Sonny Gray, you look at projections. Now the Red Sox have the second highest projected WAR of any rotation. The Blue Jays just add Dylan Cease and are coming off a World Series. The Orioles, we know how good they've been in the past and how young they are, and they almost have a blank slate right now to go get pieces, whether that be through trades or free agency. And the Yankees, if you look at those steamer projections on Fangraphs, highest projected WAR of any offense. And you know that they are going to be active in the free agent or trade market. They just haven't made a move other than bringing back Ryan Yarbrough, which it better not be their only move. And of course, extending Trent Grisham the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Rays have not made much noise, but we also know that the Rays are the best at doing and winning without much, right? So the AL East, it is shaping to be one of the best divisions in sports. That's how good it is.
I like that shout where you're looking at some of these gauntlets that the NFL has right now. The American League East can absolutely be in that conversation.